it's February. You're all being let go in September, so you still got some time. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to keep working 100%. I know, it's weird, right? Like, who does that? He asked us to give him 100%. He goes, look, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know if you give me 100%, an opportunity will show up for you. And I promise you, all you need to do is show up. And you're also going to help the outsourcer transition the services so they're in good working order. I know, this is crazy. You're looking at me like, what are you doing? Just walk out of the room. I really wanted to. At that point, I was pissed off. I was really upset, but more than anything, I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to do. And things at home weren't really running that well. Actually, I didn't know how well they weren't running until a week later. It's a Saturday morning. I'm sitting in my office, and I'm doing my thing, and she walks in. And she's got this look on her face. And those dreaded words come across her mouth, and she says, we need to talk. But actually, it wasn't a discussion. It was more of a, this is what's going to happen next. And I'm taking the dog. Now, if there was any moment in my life that was where I felt like the world was ripped underneath me, that was the day. And I actually went back to my vision board. Anybody familiar with the vision board? So I looked at my vision board for 2009. I'm pretty sure losing my job, losing my marriage, and losing my dog wasn't there. What I had was make more money, have more adventures, and for the women out there, I wanted twins. I know, crazy, right? That is nuts. So thinking about this, I got to a point where I felt hopeless. What do I do next? And I'd go to work like depressed, really unhappy. I actually picked up smoking again after a long time. I actually quit for 5 years. And I figured, with smoking, at least I'll be relaxed. It was either that or the bottle, and I figured cigarettes were cheaper. So, and actually, I found out with smoking, you actually deep diaphragm breathing, it's actually more relaxing. But I don't smoke anymore. I found another way to do that. So I walked into work one day, and my boss, he sees these tears running down my face. I'm quietly sitting at my desk. He says, hey, just come into the room, let's talk. And I told him what was happening. Outside of work, I said, I'm done at home, and I don't know what to do. And he said these things that I'll never forget. He said, listen, John, you know what? When all else is lost, just help others. You got a team of 25 people. They're all losing their jobs too. And I'm going to put it on you to help them. And I said, well, how can I do that? I don't feel like I have it inside of me to do that. He says, just do it anyways, and you'll figure it out. And what was interesting is the team at the time didn't know that this was happening. So I had to pull each one of them into a room and tell them that they were going to lose their job. And using Gino's words, hey, come in, give me 110% every single day, and I promise something will show up for you. And the truth is, I didn't know what was going to show up. All I knew is you needed to come to work, give me 110%, and we're going to transition the services over to our vendor. And you know what? For the most part, everybody in the room was pretty agreeable. They said, sure, we can do that. We trust you, and we know something's going to happen. But there was this one guy. There's always that one guy. You know that one guy who just disagrees and just makes life really difficult? Well, this one guy, his name was Dave. And Dave was, I had challenges with Dave for almost 2 years. He did his job, but it was always a struggle to get him to do his work. So he was the person I wasn't looking forward to talking. Actually, you guys must know a Dave too, right? Yeah. No, it's a different... So I was really nervous about talking to Dave and telling him, hey, look, you're losing your job, and I want you to come to work every day and do more work. So he sat down across from me at this table. I sat him down just like I did everybody else. And I said, Dave, I know you and we haven't been best of friends, but let me tell you the truth. This is what's happening. September, you're losing your job. He'd been with the organization for 10 years. I said, you're going to lose your job, but I'm going to ask you to give me 110%. And I need you to come in every single day and just show up and do your best. Like really do your best, 110%. And you know, he sat and he just took a breath and he's like, and then he stood up. And then he put his hand out, and I actually backed up because I thought he was going to swing at me. But he wasn't. He was just putting out his hand. He goes, and I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I want to say thank you. So we weren't the only group that was being let go. There was 1,500 people. My group was only a subset of that. And he goes, I want to say thank you because I see everybody else in the organization not doing anything. And you're telling us that you're going to give us something. We don't know what that is yet, but you're going to give us something, and we know that you're out there trying your best. I said, you know, you've got it, because the only way I can work for you is if you're working for me. And I can't go get those opportunities if I have to worry about the day-to-day stuff. And he shook my hand. He said, the biggest thank you ever. And from that moment on, I knew I needed to just go out and help and just get the word out. But the beauty is they did all the work. They gave 110%. And what ended up happening is the organization started recognizing their efforts and their work, so much so that we won a customer service award. The whole team won a customer service award. And it was funny because they pulled us down to this big corporate theater in July. And the CIO, or the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, was there, the guy who was going to outsource us, the guy who brokered the deal. And he's looking at my team and he's like, I don't get it. How are they doing this? How are they still winning these awards? I said, well, what I really wanted to say is you made a mistake. And we were proving it to him. I go, they just showed up and they just did their jobs. And they did it 110%. And because of that recognition, people in the organization who weren't being outsourced started to see their efforts. And, you know, and it's interesting to see who's actually watching when you don't think anybody else is watching. People in the organization were watching. And one of the things that we did is we prepared everybody for these opportunities. Trust me, I had nothing at home. I just came to work and I did everything there. I actually stayed late many, many nights. And we just prepared everybody. And what was interesting is we would send these people out for interviews, and they'd come back, and I'd get a call from the hiring manager saying, can I pick them up today? I said, no, you got to wait till September, and then you can take them. So let me tell you what happens in September. Who wants to know? All right, Bob, just for you. So in September, every single person has a job to go to. Every single one. And what was great was some of them stayed internally. Some of them went external to other organizations. And every single person had a job. And now what was interesting throughout this whole process, I never looked for work. Like I didn't even look at a job board or anything. And what was presented, like Gino had promised me, there's 2 or 3 opportunities that showed up. 2 internally, which I ended up picking up 1, and then another opportunity showed up as consulting work, which was really cool because now I got to work with my team, my current team that was being outsourced inside of another organization, and I had a great consulting gig doing that. And what was happening at home is, you know, she moved out and she took the dog, and I ended up creating a new life. Now, if I go back and I look at my vision board from 2009, and it's been now a year and a half, 2 years later, I ended up getting more money, just not quite the way I wanted to. I got it through doing some consulting work outside. You know, and I talk about the twins, and I ended up meeting this wonderful woman who I've been with for the last 9 years, who's got twin daughters. So, and you know, just this past weekend, we picked up a puppy. So we got a new Jax in the family. So out of all of this, it all came from really just helping other people. And I didn't realize the value of helping others. And there's this great book called Give and Take by Adam Grant. You know, the secret of success is really helping other people. And when you help, things just show up. All the right things show up. So think about it for yourself. What do you want to show up? Thank you.